In an age characterized by the acceleration of technology, the dominion of scientific materialism, and the commodification of virtually every aspect of existence, the human relationship with death has become increasingly fragmented and impoverished. Despite our sophisticated medical systems and vast repositories of information, we remain, in many ways, woefully unprepared to confront the inevitability of death, not merely as an event, but as an experience of consciousness. Death is often spoken of in hushed tones, handled by professionals in sanitized environments, and emotionally compartmentalized until the moment it forces itself into our lives with the uncompromising finality of loss. But what if our understanding of death is fundamentally flawed? What if the cessation of the body is not the end, but a transition, a gateway into another dimension of being? These are the questions that animate the Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as the Bardo, an ancient spiritual text that stands as one of the most profound and poetic examinations of death ever written. Emerging from the rich and contemplative traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo was designed not merely as a funerary guide for the deceased, but as a transformative tool for the living. Through its intricate descriptions of the after-death states and its deep psychological insights into the nature of consciousness, it presents death not as an ending but as a spiritual opportunity, a final, liminal state in which the soul may either awaken to its true nature or become enmeshed once more in the karmic cycles of suffering and rebirth. Yet the power of this text lies not solely in its eschatological revelations. Its teachings extend far beyond the grave, offering guidance for how to live, how to perceive, and how to meet each moment with clarity, compassion, and purpose. In exploring the Bardo, we are invited into a radically different worldview, one in which the boundary between life and death, self and other, form and emptiness, is not fixed but fluid. It is a view that collapses the dichotomy between living and dying, urging us instead to recognize the bardos, the intermediate states, not as rare occurrences, but as ever-present opportunities for spiritual transformation. The foundation of the Bardo is the assertion that consciousness continues after the dissolution of the physical body. This is a radical departure from the dominant materialist worldview, which posits that awareness is merely a byproduct of brain activity, an emergent property of matter. When the brain ceases to function, so too, it is believed, does the self. But the Tibetan tradition challenges this assumption, proposing instead that mind and body are interdependent yet distinct. The body is a vehicle for consciousness, but not its origin. In the moments following death, according to the text, the ordinary structures of perception fall away. One is left in a state of pure awareness, no longer constrained by the sensory apparatus or the egoic filters that governed waking life. It is in this space, described with poetic precision, that the deceased is presented with the clear light of reality. This light is not external or symbolic. It is the direct manifestation of one's true nature, the unconditioned, luminous mind that lies beneath all transient experience. Yet few recognize it. Why? Because even in death, we carry the inertia of our delusions, the karmic tendencies, fears, and attachments that cloud our vision. The Bardo teaches that unless one has trained in life to identify with the clear light, to become familiar with the groundless ground of awareness, it will be missed in death. Thus, death becomes not an equalizer, but an amplifier. It magnifies what we have cultivated. It reveals us to ourselves, without pretense or protection. This is perhaps the most sobering and empowering message of the text, that how we live determines how we die. Death does not grant enlightenment. It reveals the truth of our practice. While the Bardo is centered on the post-mortem journey of consciousness, its core concept, Bardo, has a much broader application. In Tibetan, Bardo literally means intermediate state, but its implications are vast. A Bardo is any threshold, any transition where the old has fallen away and the new has not yet solidified. The moment of death is a Bardo, but so is birth, illness, falling asleep, waking up, heartbreak, loss, or spiritual crisis. Life itself is a sequence of bardos. Every moment in which we lose our certainty, every experience that disorients or transforms us, can be seen as a bardo. These are the in-between spaces, where identity unravels and reconstitutes itself, where habitual patterns are suspended and new possibilities emerge. They are moments of both vulnerability and opportunity, portals through which awakening can occur. To live with an awareness of the Bardos is to become attuned to the impermanent nature of all things. It cultivates an existential agility, a willingness to surrender the illusion of control and to meet each moment as a teacher. In this way, the teachings of the Bardo Thodol are not reserved for monks in caves or the dying on their beds. They are for all of us, here and now, navigating the ceaseless transitions of existence. Within the Bardo Thodol, 3 Bardos form the heart of the post-death experience. The Bardo of the moment of death, Chikai Bardo, the Bardo of the experiencing of reality, Koniad Bardo, and the Bardo of becoming, Sidpa Bardo. Each of these represents not only a stage in the journey of the soul but also a mirror of the psychological and spiritual processes we undergo in life. As physical death approaches, the elements composing the body dissolve one by one. Earth gives way to water, water to fire, fire to air, and air to space. With each dissolution, the person experiences profound inner changes, sensations, visions, and ultimately, the disintegration of the sense of self. At the peak of this process, the clear light of reality dawns. This is the true nature of mind, described as radiant, spacious, and non-dual. It is, in essence, enlightenment itself, the same state that great meditators seek through years of spiritual practice. Yet, in the untrained, this light is overwhelming. The habitual mind, unfamiliar with its brilliance, recoils. Consciousness faints or becomes confused, slipping past the opportunity for liberation. Thus, the first Bardo is a call to spiritual preparedness. To recognize the light in death, we must learn to see it in life, in meditation, in silence, in the moments between thoughts. If the clear light is not recognized, the soul enters the second Bardo, a visionary realm filled with peaceful and wrathful deities, sounds, and luminous lights. These are not hallucinations in the pathological sense but symbolic expressions of one's own psyche. Each vision represents a facet of the mind, the union of wisdom and confusion, of clarity and delusion. Peaceful deities emerge first, embodying serenity and compassion. If one recognizes them as projections of one's own mind, liberation is again possible. If not, the visions intensify. Wrathful deities appear, terrifying, chaotic, destructive. But even these are expressions of awareness, distorted through fear. This stage is both terrifying and redemptive. It confronts us with our unresolved desires, our aggression, our ignorance. It is a life review not in narrative form, but in energetic symbolism. And once more, recognition is key. The moment we see these visions for what they are, empty and luminous, they lose their power. Finally, if the soul fails to achieve liberation in the first 2 Bardos, it enters the Sidpa Bardo, the realm of karmic becoming. Here, the accumulated tendencies of a lifetime coalesce into a momentum toward rebirth. Visions of prospective parents appear. The consciousness, driven by its karmic gravity, is drawn toward a new incarnation. This is the stage where free will narrows, and the trajectory of rebirth is largely determined. Yet even here, awareness can intervene. The trained practitioner may still recognize the process and choose consciously. But for most, rebirth proceeds automatically, shaped by the emotional residues and ethical imprints of a lifetime. In its full arc, this trilogy of Bardos presents a complete map of the soul's journey. It is both metaphysical and moral, a revelation of the unseen worlds and a reminder that our choices echo far beyond the visible horizon. One of the most powerful teachings of the Bardo Thodol lies in its treatment of karma, not as a system of reward and punishment, but as the natural unfolding of cause and effect. In this view, karma is not imposed by an external judge, but generated by the momentum of our own thoughts and actions. Every intention, however small, leaves a trace in the stream of consciousness. This view carries immense ethical implications. It suggests that the quality of our mind, not just our behavior, but our intentions, shapes the architecture of our future experiences. Greed, hatred, and ignorance solidify patterns that lead to suffering. Generosity, compassion, and wisdom dissolve those patterns and create space for liberation. In this light, Every moment becomes a spiritual choice. We are always practicing something. Practicing peace or practicing reactivity, cultivating presence or deepening distraction. The Bardo is not only after death. It is right here, right now, in every breath and decision. What does it mean to live with the awareness of death? In the Tibetan tradition, it means to regard each day as an opportunity to prepare, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Meditation on death is not morbid. It is liberating. It strips away illusion and centers us in what matters. It compels us to live with urgency, not panic, with intention, not indulgence. Such awareness transforms our values. It encourages us to forgive more quickly, to love more openly, to act more deliberately. It awakens what the Tibetans call bodhicitta, the mind of awakening, the compassionate resolve to be of benefit to others even as we navigate our own path to liberation. To accept death is to embrace life, fully and without reserve. It is to see that nothing lasts, and that in this impermanence lies the ground of all beauty and meaning. Throughout the Bardo Thodol, one theme arises again and again, the centrality of compassion. In life, in death, in all Bardos, it is compassion that protects us, grounds us, and opens the door to awakening. Compassion dissolves the boundaries of ego, softens the grip of fear, and connects us to the shared humanity that endures even beyond death. This compassion is not sentimental. It is fierce and courageous, a willingness to sit with suffering without flinching. It is the heart of the Bodhisattva path, in which one vows to awaken not only for oneself but for all beings. In the Bardos, this vow becomes our lifeline. The mind that has practiced compassion in life will find refuge in death. What relevance does a 1,200-year-old Tibetan text hold for our contemporary lives? The answer, surprisingly, is everything. In a culture addicted to distraction and terrified of endings, the Bardo Thodol offers an antidote. It teaches us to slow down, to pay attention, to make peace with impermanence. It invites us to live each day as a preparation for death, and by doing so, to live more fully, more wisely, and more freely. To integrate this wisdom is not to adopt exotic rituals, but to begin seeing our own lives through the lens of the Bardos. We can begin by cultivating mindfulness, by confronting our fears, by practicing compassion. We can embrace every transition, not just death, but loss, illness, aging, uncertainty, as a sacred passage. And we can remember always that the opportunity for awakening is never far. It is right here in the very next breath. The Tibetan Book of the Dead does not offer us comfort in the conventional sense. It does not promise salvation, nor does it deny the terrors of death. What it offers is something far more profound, a vision of death as an initiation into deeper life. It presents us with the possibility that, even in the face of dissolution, there is clarity, that beyond every ending lies a threshold, that death is not the enemy, but a mirror, a guide, and ultimately, a gateway to freedom. In embracing the teachings of the Bardo Thodol, we are not escaping death, we are entering into it with open eyes. And in doing so, we discover that to die well is to have lived well, that the boundary between life and death is not a wall but a veil. To lift that veil is the beginning of wisdom. Thank you for accompanying. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below, so we can discuss. Wish you and your family good health.